A strange dissociative pool. Yo, what's up? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by Jackson, where he took Dextromethorphan at 500 milligrams, ketamine, cannabis, and nitrous oxide. And here's the full report details. Alright, so here we got quite the combination for today. Two big dissociative substances with DXM and ketamine, but together. Pretty sure this is the first time we're covering this. But of course, also add in some cannabis, and also some lipids too. Which, with all that, it makes Jackson way more dissociated than he would have liked. I'll just let it speak for itself. I'm sure you'll enjoy this, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Hello someone. Here's a report when I took 500 milligrams of DXM mixed with ketamine, weed, and nitrous. I was very experienced with ketamine at this time, however, it was only my second time taking DXM. I took 500 milligrams of DXM via Dollar Store gel caps. Started playing Dark Souls on the come up. It took a while to kick in. About 60 to 90 minutes after ingestion, I was feeling high. Definitely dissociated, but not too much. I realized it was kicking in more when I kept dying to shit in Dark Souls at places I normally wouldn't. I put on some music and went on my phone a little, stood up, and realized how drunk I felt. My last DXM experience was over a year before this one, and I forgot some aspects of the trip. I kept saying to myself how weird it felt. I went to the bathroom and looked at some messy college senior in the mirror looking back at me. It kept coming on more and more. Walking was hard, and I felt physically and mentally weak. I smoked some weed and played a game of Warzone with my roommate, which was very stressful. The intense music made it feel serious, and I didn't get any kills. I noticed how alien and strange conversation felt. Went back to my room and put on my trippy light, one of the ones you get from Spirit Halloween, which puts on a swirling purple display on the ceiling. My memory gets a little blurry here. I smoked more weed, and soon, hesitantly did a few decent bumps of K. Almost instantly, I felt it. My vision simultaneously got blurrier and more HD. I kept looking at everything and thinking about how synthetic and man-made it was. I looked out the window, and it took a second to recognize that it was the same window that I've been looking out every day this year. I was seeing the back of my neighbor's house, and that rectangular piece of metal was the transportation that my neighbors took to work. The mixture of ketamine with DXM was profoundly dissociating. I was incredibly intoxicated, laying in bed, and my coordination was so fucked that even turning in bed or sitting up made me feel dizzy and nauseous. I wrote in my journal. The process of using my marking stick to mark out the white sheet of empty canvas with symbols to convey meaning was physically difficult, and interesting to think about the action of. I was slightly overwhelmed by how inebriated I was, and got very sad for a while. The combination of these two sensations made the trip very dysphoric. I felt what I can describe as images inside of me that all had a red hue to them. There was a rolling sensation in my chest. I couldn't stop thinking about what will happen when my mom dies. I went through and visualized in my head finding out about it by my sister calling me, having to tell my friends and talk to my family about it, going to the funeral, speaking to a therapist, crying, everything. I just watched this movie in my head and felt sorrow for things that have not happened yet. I decided to myself that when this happens, it will likely be the most traumatic and impactful event of my life. I felt that I hadn't spent enough time with my family since going to college. When this was happening, I wrote in my OneNote on my laptop. For some reason, I think about what would happen so much if my mom died. That very well may be the most traumatic moment of my life when it does happen. I feel like everyone is growing old, and bad things are happening. I feel very sad. I wish that my mom had lived a happier life, and hadn't gotten so messed up by my dad. I need to get out of this thought loop. The music, even my favorite music, got intense to a point that it was unpleasant and making the trip worse. Luckily, it was raining this night, and I just turned off the music and just listened to the rain hitting the roof of my house. This was very comforting and relieving. I calmed down a bit. Everything felt so serious as I thought about it. I wrote, "This is weird. Weirder than I remember. More different than ketamine than I remember. Everything feels very serious right now. Coronavirus, online classes for the rest of the semester, cancel graduation. Like, what the fuck? Who will I live with next year? What will happen with grad school? Everything is so up in the air right now. What do I want right now? What do I really want right now? I just don't know. I kind of want to wake up tomorrow morning and not be on DXM anymore. Everything is so strange, so real, so serious. I want things to feel like they're okay, and happy, and alright. I feel like I frequently feel that things are not alright. I don't remember, but I took a few whippets, and decided I needed fresh air. It was about 3 a.m. at this point, so I sat on my front porch to watch the rain and cars pass, and get a change of scenery. Walking down the stairs made me realize even more how fucked up I was. I exclaimed, "Jesus fuck," looking down at my feet and the stairs. They looked like they were made out of animation of an indie game, like Dead Island or something. These were the tools I used to push myself around and transport my body. Everything looked so alien. I was robo-walking so hard. I had to use my phone flashlight to walk down the stairs and take them so slowly, one by one, methodically, calculating each step as each one was such a large decision. I sat on the front porch. One of the most bizarre moments of this night, two cars drove in front of my house. As they did, I couldn't watch them go in a straight line. Everything was so choppy and jumping around that they jumped forward, and I only saw a portion of each car as they moved forward in an unnatural, framing motion. Perception and visual perspective was not with me at this moment. Observing the rain was fascinating as well. Eventually, I realized that the body I was residing in was getting cold and shivering. I wanted to stay out for longer. However, I realized that it was not in the best interest of my body, so I went inside. I was still feeling pretty dysphoric at this point. I decided to do 2 more whippets. Put 2 in the cracker. I have no memory and no idea what I saw on the other side. I don't know what happened, but when I came out, everything was okay. Like the whippets just fixed it out of nowhere, and there was no more dysphoria or jarred feeling. I decided at this point that I completed this journey and it was time to call it a night. I vaguely remember looking in the same mirror as some really fucked up college student brushing his teeth, then finally went to sleep. I gave this whole experience 7.5 out of 10. Was so fucking dissociated, inebriated, and confused at one point that it was more strange than fun. I got super sad thinking about my mom dying for a while. Also, I don't remember all of it. Would I do it again? I think so, but not for a while. Jackson.